Right, so it's to nobody's surprise at all that Israel have significant influence at the top of all manner of political parties and governments. We certainly know that here in this country, with both the government and Rishi Sunak and the opposition led by that Zionist without qualification Keir Starmer, they're both completely beholden to them. Witnessing what we are seeing in Palestine and in the Gaza Strip, though, it is now that we need strong leadership to call for a ceasefire, and not quislings you'd rather see genocide play out and Gaza turn into a graveyard for children. It isn't just this country afflicted by weak leadership, though, as sadly it is extending into Europe too. There are politicians out there, though, on the right side of history. Some of the most notable come from Ireland, as it happens. If you aren't familiar with the MEP Clare Daly and her firebrand speeches, then you're missing out. She gave a belter this week, which I'll come to, because it really is worth paying attention to. But as far as this country and its weak leaderships go, well, Brexit or not, we're still linked to Europe, and sadly, for as much as a number was done on Jeremy Corbyn on the right side of history, as he is once again here, a disinvitation from a left-wing think tank event because of the pro-Israeli views of the venue, shows Europe have a long way to go to catch up with the wishes of the majority of not just British citizens, but European citizens as well. Right, so what's happened to Corbyn here then, Damo? Well, he was due to speak in Berlin on the Future of Europe event that was going on this week, Wednesday through Friday, 3-day event, part of the annual conference this year called Europe for the Councils, held by the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation, a German left-wing think tank which is closely aligned with the German Die Linke Party. The name literally means the left, and it is Germany's Democratic Socialist Party, analogous to what Labour is supposed to be, rather than the paler shade of Tory that it's become under Keir No Ceasefire Starmer. Unfortunately, the venue for this year's conference, the Volksbühne Theatre in Berlin, objected to Corbyn's presence. A spokesman or a spokesperson for the theatre said, "Due to Jeremy Corbyn's current stance on the Middle East conflict, we have decided not to offer him a public audience at the Volksbühne." The issue apparently is because Corbyn is pro-Palestinian, in that he wants a ceasefire and he wants to see an end to the occupation of Israel in Palestine. He wants Israel to be held to account in international law. But the theatre is a little sensitive about this, as Germany is still in light of its own occupation past. You can understand things from that perspective, but you still can't excuse censoring someone and disinviting them on that basis when all the guy wants to call for is peace. He didn't explicitly condemn Hamas, so yes, that media question we're all sick of seeing pro-Palestinian activists being asked. That was the issue, because it frames the narrative on what is going on in the Middle East in a certain light, the light of establishment interests, of overwhelmingly, it seems, pro-Israeli interests. It doesn't matter that Corbyn called out all attacks, no matter who it was doing the attack in. He's seen as being on Palestine's side, and for this venue, it seems that was a deal breaker. Now, the whole point of this conference, particularly that which Corbyn was supposed to be involved in, was to look at what Europe could look like going forwards, and so the EU comes into this picture as well, as the topic really that was being discussed for 3 days. Could we have a Europe not run by stuck-up and aloof bureaucrats, your Ursula von der Leyens, for example, ardently pro-Israel and extending Europe's hand to them despite having no mandate of her own to do so? What about a citizen-led EU instead? Co-determination by the people of Europe. Increased democratic participation, a left-wing idea of a Europe going forwards and what could be. Some of you hearing this might figure it's for the birds, and seeing how low the right wing will stoop in order to retain power and concentrate power for themselves, well, we saw what they did to Corbyn, didn't we? We know how hard a fight they'd put up to hang on to power, because power is all-consuming and all that matters to them. But still, it's all very much another way is possible kind of a conversation that was happening, and we have to hang on to hope that that is true, because there's precious little hope going on or anywhere now around us now, certainly in our politics, for anything changing in our favour. Coming back to the here and now on the matter of Israel and Palestine, but particularly on Israel, the EU is a huge supplier of Israeli weaponry. It isn't just coming from us or the US. Germany and Italy between them provide some 30% of Israeli weaponry. So again, Germany boycotting Corbyn, you can kind of see our own national reaction reflected in Germany's response, can't you? A man of peace, a jam-making vegetable botherer. Well, he's the real threat, they want to tell us. As hospitals get bombed in Gaza, attacks possibly made with German or Italian military hardware involved. They're still very sensitive about their own history, though, I remind you. Less so when it appears to be happening elsewhere, even with their help, it would appear. The hypocrisy is writ large, and this seems a good point to bring in the aforementioned Clare Daly to this picture. Where our main opposition party in this country is firmly on the side of the government on this issue, in the EU, well, some of the most legendary opposition firebrands going happen to be amongst the Irish members of the European Parliament, and one whose profile has definitely been growing on social media especially is Clare Daly. Now, Daly is part of the left of the European parliamentary bloc and is an MEP for the left-wing Irish party Independence for Change. So a proper lefty, and she is one that does not pull her punches, and that's been especially true when it comes to the gushing overtures of Ursula von der Leyen towards the State of Israel. If we're to see the kind of change us rotten lefties want to see, not just in Europe but here in the UK or anywhere in the world, frankly, Israel, especially the replacement of the hard-right Zionist regime of Benjamin Netanyahu, can't come fast enough. Well, then we need to have people who won't take any of this kind of sycophantic overture to the right, the likes of von der Leyen, come out with. The left needs some fire in their belly, and Daly, in a frankly brutal take, I will use the word brutal takedown of von der Leyen just last Friday, shows exactly what I mean by that. She took to the stand to condemn the lack of a call for a ceasefire, and Ursula von der Leyen's arse cheeks will have been glowing red by the end of it from the burn she got. Daly said, "A month has elapsed since the commencement of the unrelenting mass murder of Palestinians in Gaza. It's not a spiral of violence, Frau von der Leyen. It's genocide, openly declared and carried out by the apartheid state of Israel. Starvation and bombing hospitals, ambulances, journalists and humanitarian routes. 10,000 dead, 1 in 200 Gazans killed, a Palestinian child slaughtered every 10 minutes for a month. And Frau von der Leyen's answer to this graveyard for children is to tell Israel to avoid civilians. Be as targeted as you can." Well, that displays some neck. You can't even call for it to stop. You can't even call for a ceasefire. Well, of course you can't, because these crimes against humanity are being carried out with your weapons in your name when you stood with Israel a month ago and you said you'd stand with them now and in the days to come. So don't come in here trying to wipe the blood off with belated concern. It's not just Israel's genocide, it's yours, and The Hague isn't good enough for you. Mic drop. Those words could be aimed at any of our alleged leaders here, though. People who refuse to lead but follow the US narrative, the European narrative, and won't alter their stances until someone else does first. Anyone not backing an immediate ceasefire, the blood of Gazans is on your hands as well. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please like, share and subscribe if you did. More content up daily. Meanwhile, here's a video recommendation. We're like Ursula von der Leyen. Keir Starmer seemingly has no red lines for Israel where a ceasefire would be called either. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.